Hi sailors, and welcome to a new podcast here on explorenorth.no. I'm your host Jon Antrup. This time we're heading to the start of the Northwest Passage. After all, it is the season for it. This time we're talking to Veronica and Nigel, who is the custodians of the beautiful expedition ship Novara. We're going to get into the custodianship and, of course, Novara itself, the boat, when we talk to Veronica and Nigel. They are on a climate mission supporting coastal communities to become climate safe, and they're definitely in an area where the climate change has a high impact on the society. And on that note, the Northwest Passage is already open. It's ice-free. If they wanted to, they could just leave today and head straight for home. And that is pretty scary. We'll get into that also. Listen to this podcast. Maybe get involved in sailing with a purpose, because this is what this actually is. It's just not sailing around doing adventure. It is trying to do a difference while you sail, and more sailors should definitely get into that one or the other way. Try to find your mission in life when sailing. So Novara One Planet, Veronica and Nigel, listen to that and get inspired. Okay, it's time for a new podcast. I'm in, believe it or not, sunny Shetland, and on the other side of the North Atlantic, we have, they're sitting in one of my definitely favorite and most beautiful high latitude sailing boats, and they are the owner, or they actually call themselves the custodians. Hi, Veronica and Nigel.
Hi, John.
Hi, John.
Lovely for you to have us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And give a big love to Lerwick. We loved it when we had Novara there 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a beautiful place. But you are also in a beautiful place right now. Can you describe what you see outside Novara?
It's absolutely magnificent. We have, we're in glacial valleys and, fjords, I should say. And we have huge granite cliffs coming up on both sides of us. We've seen seals today and eagles, lots of seagulls. We've had a glorious, glorious day. There's still glaciers coming down to the water. Although receding, we can see that they have receded significantly, but that we're chasing a couple that are still coming down to the water, so that we might witness a calving event sometime next week or so.
I feel like we're in a place that is humbling by its grandeur.
It's a nice
We're surrounded by towering granite cliffs and deep, deep fjords that are the color of light aqua blue with all the glacial flower. I can see you there thinking back. It's the most humbling, grand place.
It's absolutely gorgeous. It's really beautiful. It's hard to put into words, and even when we photograph it, it doesn't do it anywhere near justice.
Is it what you expected?
I expected more wildlife, and to be honest, I expected there would be a few more boats cruising here because it's just so beautiful, but there's no one. I mean, the nearest human being to us would be, Palmiot, 100 miles away. There's nothing here. So that's a bit surprising.
Not for me. I expected the wilderness, and I think it's the part of its charm. It's absolute charm. It's really beautiful and isolated, and the fact that we've just anchored in a bay that is uncharted. So a few of the members of the team went in the dinghy with the depth sounder to check out whether we could get in. That's just gorgeous. It's such a unique thing to be able to do.
Feels like I'm following in the footsteps of real explorers, even though, we're not the first here and whatnot. Just feels like I'm somehow experiencing a little bit of the explorers, what they must have done in these places.
Yes, you should. There's not that many places that are still not charted on the globe, on the planet.
Yeah. In fact, if you look at the navionics charts, we're actually anchored on a mountain.
Well, there's probably a mountain underneath you.
Silly.
But we got to take a few steps back. If we can start with the boat, and you have the previous custodian on board, Steve, and can you tell us a little bit about Novara?
Yeah, let's start with the custodianship, because I think that's
Yeah,
so important for us. Even though, we're the kind of legal owners, Novara has an interesting pedigree. It was built and launched in 1997 by an Austrian guy called Thomas Wally. We're in touch with him. It was then bought by Barton Waring, who's an American guy. It was based out of Penobscot Bay in Maine, where we were about a month ago. And then was bought by Steve Brown, who then I think probably did the most sailing on the boat until, no, he's still done more miles than us. In 2014, he did the first Northwest Passage. And then we bought the boat in October 2022. So what is she? She's a specialized high-latitude aluminium ice-strengthened aero rig schooner. There you go. That's a lot of adjectives.
So, but the bit most sailors find interesting is the aero rig, the self-rotating aero rig. So
yeah, right. So the aero rig, we're one of two or three. In fact, this was the world first freestanding self-rotating fibre, carbon fibre masted schooner in the world. It's called an aero rig. It was made by a guy called Damon Roberts. We're in touch with Damon still because, as the first, he's still interested to see how they're performing. It's a very simple design with a very simple bearing system. We have no standing rigging, so it's very easy for us to get around the boat. The carbon fiber has stood the tests of time. We had them pulled out and surveyed and refurbished in 2021, and they were fine. There was a little bit of delaminating in a couple of places, but they were very strong. So Novara is 60 feet long. When I said she was ice strengthened, we have double stringers. So aluminium hull, did I say that? Aluminium hull, double stringers. At the bow, there's 4 centimeters of aluminium. We have 5 watertight bulkheads, which doesn't make her unsinkable, but as we know from the Titanic stories, but it helps. So we have an anchor locker with a watertight bulkhead into the workshop. This is going from bow to stern. Watertight bulkhead between the workshop and the living quarters, which is, proper sealed door, probably what you have on the pelagic boats. Within the living area, there's a watertight bulkhead into the engine room, which is our 4th area. And then the 5th bulkhead is between the engine room and living quarters and the stern of the boat. We have a canoe stern and a clipper bow. So even though we're 60 feet long, length overall, it's only 45 feet at the waterline. So it's a very sea-kindly boat, both in a following sea and in a and head-on. What else can I say?
Well, because she reduces in 5 meters essentially from bow to stern and then to the waterline. It does mean that our accommodation, we sleep 6, which is not many for a boat of this length. Well, not for a modern boat of this length. she's built for high latitude in that she's well insulated, and also has a separate cupola heating system on board, which has 6 radiators throughout the boat. So the idea is to stop the cold and the damp as much as possible.
And well insulated means we have double and triple glazing throughout the boat. Typical, it's Dutch built, right? So built by KM Yachts, typical high quality construction. Even when we broke one of the windows, which I don't want to talk about, we were able to phone up and get that specific window replaced by the original manufacturers. So that's the sort of thing, the pedigree of the boat.
She's beautiful. She has a lot of wood on board.
Yeah.
And she is very beautiful. Lots of good grab holds all the way around.
It's very different than, we spent 15 months in the Caribbean surrounded by catamarans and cruisers who, if you're in a rough sea, you'll be thrown 20 feet across from one handhold to another. Whereas, on Novara, she's built for being on board. And we surely needed that when we came across the Labrador Sea 4 or 5 days ago. We had some weather. The other thing is she's got a centerboard, so we draw 1.8 meters. We say 1.8; it's probably about 1.7, but we allow ourselves 1.8 when the centerboard is up, and when it's down, it's 3.3 meter draft. So where we are now, we're anchored in 5 meters of water, and it's going to drop 2 meters. So, for us, that's plenty of depth. If we had a big fixed keel, maybe not so.
No.
It also has 2 dagger boards for downwind sailing as well.
Nice for stability, not
stability at the stern.
And at the stern.
Yeah, stern stability. Yeah, to help the autopilot. Yeah. Nice. And she has, as you said, she's sailed the Northwest Passage and she's been to Antarctica. She even blew ashore in Antarctica.
Yep, she did.
And got back again without any. Probably Steve could talk about that, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
you're hinting at a strong boat. I mean, obviously, the boat can only do so much. So all credit to Steve for managing both that situation and also in the Southern Ocean where he was in a hurricane force, I guess. I don't know what they call it in the Southern Ocean, and deployed the Johnson series drogue and rode out Jordan series. What did I say? Jordan series drogue, and deployed that and survived 42 hours in some fairly significant seas, 90 knots of wind.
So John, just to tell you a story about that, when we started looking at buying a boat, we're both New Zealanders, and Nigel's dream was always to sail back to New Zealand, and I was kind of, right, fine, see you in the warm places. But I had a change of heart, and then we started saying, well, if we were to return to New Zealand, what route would we take? And that was informed by the fact that we wanted to do some work on climate change adaptation and working with coastal communities. And so the coastal communities that are most impacted by climate change are the Arctic, the Pacific, and the Caribbean. So it was obvious that we needed a boat that would take us to high latitudes. And when we first stepped on board Novara in Oban, 2020 now? 20, maybe 21?
July 21.
July 21. I literally put my foot on the deck, and Steve said, on this boat, we go safety, comfort, speed, in that order. And my thought was, I could go home in this. And it was the only boat that I'd stepped on that I thought would take me the distances and the places that we wanted to go.
Yeah. I can believe that, but you didn't exactly choose the easiest way home.
That's her fault. Her fault.
Not the short way.
No, take the long way home.
Well, funnily enough, we spent some time doing community work in Providencia Island, just near Nicaragua. We were there in January, and we were only like 2 days sail from Panama Canal. And we, it was very tempting to go, let's just go south. Through the canal, we could be home in 3 months.
I wasn't at all tempted.
Instead, here we are.
Yeah. Because in your professional life, you both worked with environmental issues in some sort.
Actually, I worked environmental, and Veronica did more the leadership stuff. So in my environmental work, I worked on climate change for 30 years, change, both in government policy and more recently in the finance area, trying to get money into climate investments. So that's my kind of background. I wanted to sail home with a sense of purpose. So I said, let's do some work on climate adaptation because, in my opinion, I worked on climate mitigation, so trying to reduce the amount of emissions for 30 years, and we've got ourselves pretty much nowhere globally. So as far as I can work out, we now have to make a mad scramble to focus on adaptation while, still do the mitigation stuff for those people who are still trying. Good luck to them. But the communities in the coasts, and in particular the Caribbean, the Arctic and Pacific, are the communities that don't have access to funding, they don't have access to support, and they're the ones that are bearing the brunt of climate compounded risks. So that's my background.
And mine was in coaching, training, facilitation. So I wasn't exactly sure how that would pan out when we started this journey. But in essence, how it has panned out is that I have facilitated conversations with many people, often quite difficult conversations, about what are the next step for them to take to be safe with those climate compounded risks, if you like. And then helped them make that decision, and at times trained people to be able to keep doing that facilitation as we sail off. So it's been a good mixture of our skills to look at what we could practically do. And I mean, Nigel often says that it's got him out from behind the desk, because to work in policy for 30 years is a very different thing from turning up in a fishing community where they have had all their boats destroyed in a hurricane, and then say, and how do you get hold of finance? That's a different thing. It's totally. So so it's good. I think it adds an extra layer and some depth, and does add some real purpose to us doing the sailing, rather than, as we meet many cruisers who do the sailing, and that's wonderful. And this just adds an extra layer and interest for us.
How are you received when you arrive at these communities and talk about your project?
Well, it very much depends, John, on who we know in that community. When we've had an introduction to somebody in that community, then we're received well. In fact, I think all of the time we're received well, and a big part of that is because we come from the sea, and we don't fly in an aeroplane and say, here is what we're going to deliver to you. What we do is we come from the sea and we say, here's our skills. And then we ask people, what is it that they need? And we listen to their stories. And then we say, well, could this be helpful? And if there's nothing helpful, we just have a very pleasant time together and, shake hands and swap contacts, and that's it. But more often than not, with an attitude of we listen, there is something that we can assist with, or one of our professional contacts can assist with.
And as you said before, now you're heading into an area because you're going to do the Northwest Passage, and they are highly affected by this climate crisis. And the Northwest Passage is usually, it's a speed run to get through. It's a diesel, to be honest, it's a diesel run. You have to push through. But do you see are you going to make any stops that you have planned, or are you just
good question.
play it by the weather?
Yeah, good question. I mean, we're hoping to have some connections in Nuuk. I have some Danish colleagues from my previous employment, so we're hoping. We still haven't got anything set up here. We were always warned that Greenland and Inuit communities are, let's say, suffering a little bit from donor fatigue, aid fatigue, and that there's not a lot of, they're very wary of people coming in offering help. Okay, so we've put our feelers out. If we get some interest, then the best we can probably do is talk to them, hear their story, and document their story to share with the other communities that we've met. And if there's any kind of follow-up, we would have to do that once we've left the community. Because, as you say, we're on the run. We need to get through within a certain time period. So, yeah, I mean, in Providencia, we were there for a couple of months, and that's our preferred way of working, is being able to stop. But this is not going to be able to.
But unusually, and unfortunately, the ice is really on the move this season, very early. We could go directly from, we're on the southwest of Greenland, and we could go from here through to Ballot Strait.
It's all clear.
It's all clear.
It's all clear.
It is all clear.
We could go through to Lancaster.
There's no ice.
There's no ice. It's clear already.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Holy shit,
Holy
yes.
shit. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just read that the East Coast, that's been cleared 6 weeks before time now. There's no ice there either.
No.
Nothing.
And we're looking at changing our route and going across to Labrador because, to Baffin Island.
Baffin Island, yeah.
Because we can, right? It's clear.
Yeah, and so for us as on an expedition, that's wonderful because it gives us lots, but then you think about the bigger picture, it's a disaster, right?
It's an absolute disaster. Yeah.
It is. Because, you as me, you were part of the Ocean Cruising Club, and they had a bunch of boats going through last year.
Yes.
And there was a lot of ice.
Yes, there was. Yeah, it was very, very low. I mean, let's see. I mean, things change. If there's a breakup, the Arctic ice sheet more and it gets to clog, comes south, that's our biggest risk, I guess. But at the moment, the sea ice has gone from Lancaster Sound down to Ballot and then down to Ballot Strait. Yeah.
And have your plans changed according to you're talking about Banff, but are you going to head over soon, or are you going to spend some time on the west coast of Greenland?
Greenland is so beautiful. We can't. I don't think we can stop ourselves from just spending some time here and enjoying the coast. We'll head up to Disco Bay. Our aim is to be north of Disco Bay by the end of the month. So what's that? 2 weeks. So we'll give ourselves 2 weeks, which will still give us plenty of time to get through, assuming the ice conditions are okay. The temptation is just to run for the ice now, but we really want to explore the west coast of Greenland.
And I want to get into the communities, even if we don't have an opportunity to do a lot in terms of what we call our Novara One Planet work. I still want to explore those communities and talk to the people if we can, and at the very least, see what they're about, and if there can be contacts that we can make that we can follow up with at a future time.
Yeah. Cool. What kind of time? When are you planning to be in Nome?
Well, mid to late September, I guess.
Yep.
That's our hope.
Sounds reasonable. And you said there was no other boats up there, but are you in contact with boats that are trying to get through this year?
Yeah, through Victor.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're in touch with Victor. We have a list of 6 or 7 other boats.
Okay.
We know one other is already in Disco Bay. So they headed north. And there's one other boat, Ella, in the Arctic. She's in Nuuk at the moment.
She's in Nuuk at the moment.
Yep. And we'll be in Nuuk in 2-3 days, depending. I mean, we could get to Nuuk tomorrow, but it's
beautiful.
As you know, around here, it's just magnificent.
No. And if you catch up with Ella, which you probably will, you have to say hi from me. She's one of my absolute favorites. I met her in Svalbard last year when she was on her test run, and she's
wonderful. Will do.
We'd love to meet her.
Yeah, we're looking forward to meeting her. We're in touch with her through one of our crew on board, Maddie. She's in touch with Ella. They knew each other from the Solent days in the south of England.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about crew, you have a very strong crew, haven't you?
Oh, we have a brilliant crew.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
We do.
You have the former skipper as chef, so former owner as chef, so.
Yeah, so we have 4 others on board with us. We have Steve Brown, who we've spoken about and is a former owner, and Steve's role for this trip is our ice pilot. So that's absolutely wonderful. And
is it like a mentor?
Yeah,
he's a mentor.
I was going to say it's far more than that. And he just, so simple things. Last night was the first time that we'd anchored with shorelines. We hadn't had to anchor with shorelines before. And Steve, because he knows the boat and it has been his boat, just simply says, okay, this is the way you do it. Now, when we came to, if we'd had to figure that out for ourselves, yes, we would have done, but we would have made some horrendous mistakes and taken us 2 weeks to figure out how to use a shoreline well and efficiently. So it's really, his wisdom and his experience is incredibly valued.
Yeah, recommended. If anyone has the opportunity to have a mentor on board, someone who's done it before, it's invaluable.
So when you buy a boat, you should also buy the previous owner.
Well, at least invite the old pilot.
In fact, you know what? A little story. When we negotiated to change custodianship, part of the deal was that Steve said he has to be on board to do the Northwest Passage. That's the deal.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a good deal.
And then we have 3 others. So we have Seeger Clarkson, who is a navigator in the New Zealand Navy.
A specialist navigator.
So he's wonderful and has been, we hand over the navigation to him and basically say each evening, Seeger, what have you got lined up for us tomorrow? And, well, that's what I do. Nigel is a bit more hands-on in terms of the navigation. And then we have Maddie Wynne, also from the New Zealand Navy. She's a lieutenant commander in the New Zealand Navy and is a marine specialist engineer. So for her, looking at one ship that has one engine and one plumbing system is a piece of cake, because she's used to looking after multiple. And we also have Andy McEwen, who's a guy that we actually met in the Outer Hebrides in Scotland when we first went up there our first season. And he has a PhD in engineering and is absolutely wonderful to have on board and good company. And was a professional sailor with, he trained with Team GB, and he's an amazing sailor. Yeah. So, I definitely feel as I'm the least competent sailor on board.
Well, so we have an interesting dynamic, John, because Veronica and I, we're the owners of the boat, and I'm the skipper, and the two of us, are the least experienced in terms of the specialist area. So we're having to learn how to let others take over, right? We have to keep our egos in check, and basically we just make sure that we're the kind of we have the safety of the boat and people in mind. That's our kind of main focus. The physical engineering stuff, that's all dealt with Maddie and Andy. The navigation, Seeger is more than qualified to do that, and so
Steve does all the ice.
Steve does the ice, and kind of offers the sage advice. So it's a really interesting dynamic. We're very privileged to have such an amazing group of friends with us.
And putting together that crew has been a long-term thing. We've been thinking about doing the Northwest Passage for a long time. So when we crossed the Atlantic, we had Maddie and Andy on board to see, are they going to be able to get along and work together? And yes, and we had Seeger came and joined us going up to the Shetlands, and Steve, of course, who had sailed with often. So these are all people who we knew with and had sailed well with before we said, come join us on the Northwest Passage.
Cool. Yeah, so it sounds like a really strong crew, but it's not a problem that you have 4 skippers on board, or maybe 5.
It's potential. We're having to work through that. We have a really good we have a very strong professional team coach on board, and she manages team dynamics, which should never be underestimated. Every evening we have a meal together, and that's the opportunity for everyone to talk about their we start off with the plus things that have happened during the day that are good, things that may be minus, and any tweaks or changes that they would like to make. And that's a critical part of managing the internal dynamics, right? Yeah.
Sounds like a good setup.
Yeah, it's very, very important.
Yeah. You were talking about the boat and the concept. Did the concept of sailing with a purpose come before you bought the boat, or was it the other way around?
Most definitely it came before. Because so what happened was in 2019, my sister died quite suddenly in New Zealand, and she was the 5th member of my family to die under the age of, she was 61, but young, under the age of 60.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the time I got back to London, we were living in London after 2 long haul flights to New Zealand and back again. I kind of walked into the door and said to Nigel, "This dream of yours of sailing back to New Zealand, how do we make it happen?" And he said, "Well, I want to go home with a purpose." And I said, "Well, that's great. I want to go home in an interesting way." So when we sat down and looked at what a purpose in an interesting way looked like, that very quickly narrowed down to working with coastal communities and climate change adaptation, and to go home. The IPCC authors at that time spoke about the most impacted areas of the planet that from climate change, and they're the Arctic, the Pacific, and the Caribbean. So it was right. Okay, so we go VAR that way. So how do we fit them all in was then the issue. So then we needed a boat that would allow us to go to those places. So it was most definitely that the mission came first, and then the boat. We looked for a boat. It narrowed down this hunt for a boat hugely.
Yeah, there weren't too many boats that we could find within our price range that would fit the bill,
Because it usually comes the other way around. It's sailing nerds that are trying to do something or raise some money or doing some. Yeah, but this is
it is the
way better story.
Well, it's a different way, I guess. I mean, we've both sailed for a long time, but nothing serious, and in terms of passage making, we're still newbies. We've done 15,000 miles on Novara, plus we've done maybe 2,000 or 3,000 miles before, but never as skipper, never on our own boat. So this is quite a steep learning curve, maybe more steep than people would expect. Certainly we had we were sailing a 32-foot Jeanneau before Novara, so we moved from a 32-foot Jeanneau to a 60-foot high-strengthened aluminium-hulled 30-ton boat, and we had to learn the hard way.
Yeah. Imagine that was a steep learning curve, but with the people you have gathered around you, it shouldn't be. Sounds very manageable.
Yeah, I mean, and we've
mostly
learned by doing, and we've learned by doing.
Yeah. Mostly.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of challenges where we're like, oh my God, what have we done?
Been out in any bad weather?
Yeah.
Except for last week?
Except for last week, we've been pretty good. I mean,
it's the old adage, isn't it? You either have poor weather or time. And so we have very much tried to stick away from the bad weather as much as we can. And we've had bad weather, but not excessively bad. We haven't been caught in hurricanes or massive gales or anything like that.
To date, the weather forecasts have been remarkably accurate, and we've been able to pick our weather windows. Now we're in a different part of the world. Getting from Newfoundland to Greenland across the Labrador Sea, the forecasts are terrible. Terrible as in really inaccurate. So, they might say in 12 hours or, the 24-hour forecast is for northerlies, and you wake up in the next morning and it's blowing from the south. Or they might say, so it's notoriously difficult to forecast around that area. So when we headed off from Newfoundland, we basically just had to stick our head out the window and say, okay, it's blowing from the south. That's the way we want it. And we headed off. We got a couple of days of heavy weather on the nose. That wasn't pleasant, but you just go to your bunk and then get up and do your watches.
And Novara has no problem with that.
Oh, yeah, Novara's fine with it.
Novara's fine with it. She just
reef down
and keeps going. No, she's fine with it. Yeah.
It's always the people.
It's always
the people.
Always the people. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had some heavy weather in crossing the Channel a year or two back, but other than that,
and again, that was because we were trying to get somewhere for a particular time and date. The old where and when problem.
Yeah.
As long as we don't dictate where and when we want to be, we're okay.
Now that you're heading into the not where and when territory, what's your expectations of the Northwest Passage?
In terms of weather?
Weather, ice. We talked about ice. There's nothing, but probably end up seeing something.
I think we'll see something, but in terms of weather, we've been told it's either blowing 50 knots or there's no wind. So it seems like a lot of motoring, and then when the heavy weather comes in, you seek shelter somewhere.
If you can.
Otherwise tough it out. So expectations are that we're going into places where the weather forecasts are probably not as accurate as we used to, so we're going to be relying on the old-fashioned look at what's happening and make sure we have plenty of contingency plans. And in terms of, charting as well, we talked a little bit about that. Charting, we know that we're going into uncharted areas, so we're practicing skills and how to deal with that. And the ice thing, we even had a conversation around the table a couple of nights ago saying, look, if we don't find any ice, we're going to have to go hunting for it because we definitely want to see some. Who would have thought that would be a conversation you'd have heading into the Arctic?
No.
Yeah.
No. You're probably
Yeah.
So well, we've already seen icebergs, and we have seen some.
Yeah.
We will see more, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah. You posted some beautiful pictures on your approach to Greenland.
Oh, yeah.
It's at 62 degrees at the moment, so we've got a long way to go.
Got a fair way to go north yet.
Yeah.
And look, I think apart from the physical stuff on the ice, it's going to be an amazing learning experience. Sailing, you can sail in the open ocean in the mid latitudes, and you've got plenty of degrees of freedom, haven't you? If you can run from the wind. If you're sailing in ice and it builds up, what do? You can't run at speed from the wind because you've got ice floating around. So we're certainly going to have lots to learn.
But hopefully not that much to learn.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully we just.
Hopefully not that much.
And
thank you. I know you have
we have good books on board, like high latitude sailing and that sort of thing.
Thanks for that, but I think it's more valuable to have Steve on board. I know you guys have a fish stew waiting, but can we make a deal? When you get to Nome, can we make another podcast?
Oh, yeah.
So I would really like to hear about your experience sailing through the Northwest Passage.
Sure. We would love to do that, John. It would be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm really envious about you guys. So hopefully you will see some ice, not too much, but enough, and have a really safe passage.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Stay in touch.
Thank you for joining.
Seeing you at some stage.
Hi again, sailors, and thank you for listening to this podcast. You will find more podcasts on explorenorth.no, both in Norwegian and in English. If you want to know more about sailing in cold waters, I can highly recommend, without blushing, the book I wrote together with Bob Shepton. It's called, surprise, surprise, High Latitude Sailing, Self-Sufficient Sailing Techniques for Cold Waters and Winter Seasons. It covers pretty much everything you need to know to get out sailing the whole year round and sailing to remote places in the world. You'll find it, you can buy the book on explorenorth.no, on Amazon, or have your bookstore order it. If you're interested in Svalbard, I also wrote Sail to Svalbard. You can buy them at the same places. So please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions at all. You'll find me on explorenorth.no. In the meantime, go out sailing.